In addition to everything going on nationally and internationally that we cover here on Washington Watch, we've seen increased momentum at the state level on policy issues that are important to people who care about faith, family, and freedom. In fact, the FRC policy team is currently tracking 403 bills that we support in state legislatures around the country. 235 of them are high priority. These bills cover a variety of issues from parental rights and education to religious freedom to 15-week abortion bans to girls and women's sports. It seems that the left has overplayed its hand so that voters have said enough and are taking action. And joining me now to talk about this and more is Quena Gonzales, who is FRC's Senior Director of Government Affairs. Quena, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Joseph. Great to be with you.
Great to see you. Give us an update. What's happening at the state level?
Oh, there's a lot. We have a whole team of people, as you know, tracking bills at the state level, Joseph. The figure that you gave, 403 bills, those are bills that we support. There are actually another 600 plus bills that we oppose. So we're tracking over 1,000 bills at the state level and working very hard. I'm very grateful to have a very talented team looking at all of these and working with our state partners, the family policy councils in the various states, 40-odd states, who are working in their state capitals. It's just a joy to partner with them to see these bills proceed and, of course, to see the bad bills stopped. You mentioned several of the bills, several categories. I would just mention we have 126 high-priority pro-life bills that we are tracking and 67 that we're opposing that are pro-abortion. That shows a discrepancy, Joseph, that's very interesting. There's a lot of pro-life action at the states. And I would say if you're on the pro-abortion side at the state level, you're very much on the defense these days, both in the culture and actually, as it turns out, in the numbers in the legislation. The number of bills touching on marriage, family formation, human sexuality that we're tracking almost 180 bills that we support along those lines. And then there are just a number that that's the wrong number. That's 180 that we oppose. We're tracking 94 at the state level that we strongly support. So they're spread out across the states. I know if people live in a blue state or a red state, they might think, oh, well, I know basically where my state is, but trust me, there are good and bad bills moving right now in your state that need your voice of opposition or support no matter where you live.
Quena, are you seeing any trends around the country, either in a good direction or a bad direction?
Well, sure. We always wrap up in the summer and write up some pieces of what we're seeing. So right now, here we are in the middle of February. We have some preliminary ideas of what we're seeing. It's an interesting year. Nationally, we're seeing Dobbs. We're seeing the Dobbs case at the Supreme Court that could overturn Roe v. Wade and return the question of abortion really and truly back to the states. And this is the first time in a generation that we've seen this opportunity. We don't know how the Supreme Court will react, and neither do the state legislatures, but the states aren't waiting. The states are, in fact, moving forward. A few years ago, a handful of states, Alabama, Arkansas, and a few others, moved forward, Texas most recently, to ban abortion or to ban most abortions at the state level, challenging Roe v. Wade. Now we're seeing state after state pick up that mantle and begin to really whittle away at abortion in their state. Many states have only one abortion provider left in their state, and the states are going after those legislatively. Conversely, there are many states like California that are seeking to become abortion destinations and are actually increasing state taxpayer funding for abortion, assuming that Roe will fall. And I think that's very telling. They're very concerned to keep the killing of the unborn in their state, and they're willing to use taxpayer funding to underwrite it. A few years ago, we saw Illinois take this step about 3 years ago and become a destination for people on Medicaid in surrounding states could come into Illinois and take advantage of state Medicaid funds to underwrite their abortions, which they couldn't in the surrounding states. It looks like California is set to follow their example if our friends in California are not successful in stopping this bill.
It is disturbing to think about what would essentially boil down to abortion tourism, and states and state leaders saying that's what we want to be about, is have people come here to kill their children. But Quena, are there any states that are leading in a really positive direction where local legislative leaders are stepping up and showing the nation what's possible?
You know, Joseph, one of the hot topics on the coasts and the coastal media, and here in Washington certainly, is sexual orientation and gender identity. These are the third rail of politics. Nobody can touch them, and it really takes a brave member of Congress to touch them. But amazingly, in the states, I think because they're closer to the people and sometimes closer to the problem, there seems to be an upwelling, in my view, in the last few years of courage to address some of the ways in which the ideologically driven agenda of the left have impacted women, and we certainly see this in women's sports bills that are being introduced all across the country, well over a dozen at this point, as well as bans on gender transition procedures being performed on minors. These are children, sometimes very young children, sometimes as young as 6, are beginning the process of transitioning from male to female or female to male using hormones and puberty blockers that really have lifelong effects that have not been well studied. And so states are stepping into the gap and saying, no, not in our state. We're not going to do this. I think all of our viewers and listeners are probably aware that last year Arkansas took that step and overrode a gubernatorial veto to ban gender transition procedures from being performed on minors. But what they may not know is that 19 other states introduced that legislation last year, and we are on a good clip this year to see just as many states introduce the same type of bill this year to protect the children of their state. And again, this is an example of where our viewers and listeners need to be vocal and need to support these laws, which we're very happy to see are moving through the process in state after state this year.
And we are happy to see that happening as well. And we at Family Research Council, of course, are thrilled for the opportunity to partner with those who are laboring so effectively at the state level. And Quena Gonzalez, we appreciate your time today in keeping us abreast of it all. And frankly, your time all year round in keeping us aware of what's happening in the nation. Thanks for being with us today.
Great to be with you, Joseph.